Bythjul.com. Däck och fälgar online direkt hem till din dörr eller närmaste verkstad.
We're in Valencia to drive the new Lexus LBX, Lexus Breakthrough Crossover. And what I think about crossovers, well, I think they're rather plain. I think they don't look that very beautiful. But Lexus wants to invite you to a more beautiful world, a more luxurious world, a more refined world of their brand. And that's what you get in this small segment. In this ruby red, looks rather elegant. You can find some design language from Lexus that, you know, elevates that feeling. But there is something about this package that sets this car aside from all its competitors. There is some ooze of that luxury, refinement, and comfort, and also that quietness that this car enhances. So they talk a lot about this car, they brag a lot about it in that way, but I think they're rather spot on, even though it's not much to brag about when it comes to the engine. 1.5 liter, it's this self-charging hybrid, 3-cylinder engine, 136 horsepower. Well, it's not a sprinter, but that doesn't matter, because what you need this car for is to be practical. You can turn it around, because in cities, which becomes more populated, more dense, you want a small car, a practical one, but they become more pricey, and this one, well, it is rather pricey. It costs more than 450,000 Swedish crowns. It is more or less a Toyota Yaris Cross, but it is a bit more stretched, it's a bit wider, and it is a bit higher. But what they've also done is that they've strengthened up the rigidity and also the chassis settings, so it should provide a bit more sporty tone to it. Well, we can just find out. They want to aim for customers which are a bit more funky, a bit more design orientated, and that wants to get into the Lexus family. Of course, that comes at a price, or they want to get those customers that already have a Lexus and maybe want to have a second car or want to downgrade. Well, that strategy, hope that works. We'll just see, because I think it is a bit more of a pricey car. It needs to deliver on a lot of points, because nowadays cars, they become almost the same. So there's not that much that differentiates them from each other. But if this can live up to its bigger brothers and sisters, well, then it might become a complete little car. The steering wheel feels very comfortable. It's well stuffed, and I must say that the inputs and the directions, even when going at higher speeds here at motorway, small cars, they can have some tendency of, you know, retaking it sometimes, but this one feels like a bigger car. They were also talking about that, should feel like a bigger sedan, and in that regard, it does. I always complain about, you know, the Toyota steering wheels that are not that good looking. But this one looks just elegant in a Lexus way. I like it. And I think this is also good. The screen here in the middle is not too dominating, because it's nowadays you want big screens and they take that much place and space. But this one, it's just a neat size. I like it. Okay, so 0 to 100 in 9.2 seconds. Little spin. Well, you get this classic CVT, you know, or revving, which is not that characterful. Let's see if we got some brakes here. So full brake from 100. That sounds strange. Let off the brake as well and was still gripping. This 1.5 liter 3-cylinder engine, it's a bit fruity. 3-cylinder engines are a bit fruity in their sound, but this is not a thrilling engine in any way. The battery is a bit stronger and it gives you 50% better response than in the Yaris Cross. So, you know, well enough for a little car that should be driven effectively, and effectively means light foot in town, not taking it on very long journeys, even though you got the freedom with a car like this. But if you want to keep the consumption down, then you need to drive carefully. So the consumption combined is about 4.6 liters per 100 kilometers. But reflecting over that, feels like that's rather much nowadays, even for those self-charging hybrids. I think it should be below 4 liters. But I think you can manage that if you really want to. As I always say with these type of cars, being light-footed, planning your route, and knowing how to drive one of these cars, it becomes a little like a competition. So getting the consumption down, well, that's what you need to aim for and fight for. So integrated to the system and the navigation, it will see where the battery will use most of its power in the best way, and what type of zone, if it's uphill, downhill, or if it senses that you have your route from day to day, it will save it and it will use the battery in its best way. The chassis has been strengthened up a bit more over the Yaris Cross. It's a bit longer, it's a bit wider, and it should initially give you some more sporty feel. Started out driving through town and out on the motorway. The roads, they are rather smooth, but what we felt was that it was a bit jumpy. Not that fun, because they praise it that much of being a very mature car, a Lexus product, a refined product, a comfortable product. So my expectations was a bit higher, but when you gathered a bit more speed, it felt a little more calm. But now we're at the back roads, so let's see how it handles here in the bends. And it follows the rhythm rather good. Together with the feeling of the steering wheel, I must say that the steering is great. You can feel that those 136 horsepowers together with that 1 kilowatt hour battery, well, it's not that much, right? And here comes a little braking. Let's see where we're going. There's something with the brakes. I don't know what it is. Well, 150 kilometers and it takes on a little. This is not a rocket in any way. It's not meant to be a rocket, but very lined in. It doesn't squirm from side to side in any way. So the steering and that more mature, grown up type of car that it's supposed to be, more like a big sedan, they've managed that, I must say. Of course, you can go on longer journeys in this car because it feels rather grown up. It is quiet, the cabin is quiet, and the ride is good enough. So sure, on B roads like this, they were rather smooth, but there are worse roads on some different destinations, of course. At home we have some roads that are not that very good, especially B roads. Maybe that's where you want to set it to really analyze what type of chassis setting it's got and how much of that sound is being transferred into the cabin, because we found that little section earlier where it felt a bit juddery in some way. No, but it feels good. I think it's quiet enough. It is rather good. Now when we've been driving it for a while, so at a higher speeds and at some more active driving, it feels like a much more grown-up car. But in this curvy sections here, it feels all right. But this is not a sports car in that sense. And together with this CVT, well, it's a bit what it is. Well, the steering is very agile. I like that. It's there. It's very pointy. So the agility when driving a bit sporty, well, it's there, but the power, well, that's not there. It would be interesting to feel how that four-wheel drive version pushes you out. It's a sharp corner as well, but it's all right. For a little car like this, it's just enough. So in here, it's a bit more premium than on the average small car. A really nice steering wheel. It's cleaned up in here. This screen isn't too big. They've really set these small knobs to work a bit better. They were a bit flimsy at the world premiere. Some buttons are a bit small, but they give you feedback so you know when you push them. You got these big chunky buttons here, a nice cluster that is not too cluttered, with good graphics and nice typing. The door latches, I like them. Many people don't, but I think they work really good. You push, and then the door opens. Also a very nice line here of the design with these vents that flow. You also got this Nano X, which drips a little water out through its system. So it makes it a bit more moist in here, a bit more refreshed. And they also say that it's good for your skin and your hair. Well, not in my case, but anyway, that should be also a bit more refreshing. And you know, that is luxurious as well. So small things, small details. This also got this posture braking control. It's got all the distance control settings. It's a well-equipped car with the things that you need from a bit more expensive ones. Seats are good, not too big and not too small. For me, they just fit perfectly, but I think that if you're a bit larger, a bit bigger, the bolsters here, well, they might come in to hug you a bit too much. Intuitive system, I think it is rapid enough. The system has good graphics. You can feel that is a quite quick processor in here, and when you've learned how it works, it is rather logic. So all in all, a good little space in here. Get into the back seat. Well, this is a rather cramped space back here. The backrests, they are rather upright. The stuffing is all right. There is some of this synthetic leather, which gives you a little luxurious feeling, but it is dark back here. This is a car for that family that has small children. Well, if you want to go for longer trips, I don't think you want to be an adult sitting here for longer. But you know, it's all right. You can't say that much more about it. It has some height to your head. I'm 175 centimeters. You got electric windows. You got individual locking back here, and you got some USB-C outlets here for your charging. So it's a small car. You can't get away from the fact. You can fold these so you get some more storage in the back. The boot capacity is 402 liters if you load it from the bottom to the top. Otherwise, it is, you know, somewhere in the range of 300 liters. That is just good enough for a small car like this. But sitting in here, it feels a bit, you know, embraced. I like the Japanese design that they keep. It's not too much. It's not too mild, if you want to call it that. It's just, you know, a pleasant place to be. These new wet arm wipers are really, really good. They make it a lot more cleaner, the window, because the washer fluid is integrated into the wipers. So it becomes a bit more even cleaned. That's good. But driving through town at lower speeds, this is its natural habitat, because using that battery to its max, making it efficient. Cars in this segment, well, they are generally a bit more affordable, a bit more plastic. They are meant to be a bit more cheap. But this feels a bit more upmarket. And when you add all this together of being a bit more mature car, the refinement of this Lexus quality, the steering, I think they've done quite a good job. And I think it will attract some new customers into the Lexus family. Because Lexus is quality, you know that it costs a bit more. So that might be the first step. But I might feel a little skeptical because there are many competitors out there, and I don't think that people in this segment feel that they want to buy such an expensive product, such an expensive car in this size. But does that extra feeling of quality really catch that extra type of customers? That is a question that, you know, time will only tell. I like small cars. They're cute, they're practical, and you know, living in town, having that turning circle, parking it, and a small family maybe, well, it can't be more convenient than that. You don't want that big SUVs or big sedans in town, especially when towns get so crowded more and more. Talk about Stockholm, well, you can't like almost drive there anymore. The seats are comfortable, but not very, you know, soft. They are a bit on the firm side, but there's space to move about in them, and well, I like them. So what you can choose is some different type of atmospheres to this car. There's 5 atmospheres to choose between. You get different colors, you got some different trim, and you got some different interior colors. So these 5 atmospheres or trim levels, they're called LBX, Elegant, Relax, Emotion, and Cool. And then you can get some different colors for your car and some bitones as well. Cutting corners, bum, bum. This steering and this feel could sit in a much faster car. Very progressive. Let's feel the brakes again. Well, they're all right, you know, they grip, but they don't let off that good. So this is the Relax trim pack. It's got a bit more equipment. You got this brown looking synthetic leather. And also here is not a B for regenerative braking. It's S, I guess, as in sport. And it also got these paddles on the steering wheel. It says S as in sport when you get into that. So if you want to get it simulated a bit more sporty, you can use these paddles, but it just, puts the different ranges of revs in this CVT gearbox on different levels. Well, it's like in the electric cars when you get an emphasized sound. Sometimes that's good. And I think that in this one, if you want to drive a bit more ambitiously, then it's just fine having this one here. I don't mind it. But does it make you faster? Not really. And the thing is that when you downshift, it brakes a bit more. So that becomes like the regenerative braking in this car. And that is also like putting in a lower gear for an engine braking. So it works somewhat in a simulated way. Yeah, so you need to be light on your foot to maintain the EV drive in this car. Let's see how much power you can push before the engine kicks in. It's not much, always the same. Be neat, and you will be driving on EV, but at lower speeds. So you can't rush the car too much, and you can't get into too much of a hectic type of driving. And it might be hectic sometimes at rush hours, where you might need to drive quicker to keep up traffic pace. And in this version you get the electric adjustable seats. That is good. The response is quicker. You can feel that it's there, so it's not like it's sluggish. Comparing it to the Toyotas, which has about the same system, it feels a bit more on its toes. And in this one also get a bit more sporty steering wheel. A bit more carved out here for your thumbs. Feels like you're driving some F version of a Lexus car.
A somewhat pricey car, but a car that provides the driver with that Lexus feeling. But you need to test drive it for a little longer to sense just that, and the grown-up factor it can deliver. A small car that slowly grows onto you as you sense how great the steering is, in combination with a sophisticated and calm cabin. But can the Lexus badge spice up or inject the customers with enough satisfaction to choose this one over the Yaris Cross? We need to do a thorough test back to back to see what's what there. But for what it is, it feels like a solid piece of compact car for the city and also for the longer runs. And that says quite a lot for that specific needs.